Sometimes you see a handful of news headlines pop up in a single week, and they seem, well, completely disconnected, right? But if you look a little closer, sometimes they piece together to tell a much, much bigger story. So today, let's do just that. We're going to dive into a series of headlines from India that, when you put them all together, reveal a really fascinating national blueprint.
Okay, let's start with the headline that, let's be honest, grabbed everyone's attention. In October of 2025, Elon Musk's net worth, and get this, it crossed $500 billion. That made him the first person in history to hit that milestone. I mean, that is just an absolutely staggering number for one single person.
And an achievement like that, it raises a really interesting question, doesn't it? While one person can build a fortune on that kind of mind-boggling scale, how does an entire nation, we're talking over 1 billion people here, how do they build their future? Well, it's not about one single move. It's about a whole series of deliberate, strategic steps.
And that really brings us to the core idea here: one man's massive fortune versus one nation's blueprint for the future. So let's dig into the first piece of that plan. All right, so the first pillar of this whole blueprint is all about architecting a digital future. And what's really interesting is that we saw a super clear 3-step strategy emerge just this past week to make it happen. Yeah, in October 2025, we saw these 3 totally distinct initiatives pop up, but together they form this really clear, cohesive strategy. It's all about 1, securing the foundations, 2, building up the talent, and 3, activating that next generation. Let's break them down. Okay, first things first, you have to secure the system, right? The Reserve Bank of India did just that by setting up a brand new 6-member Payments Regulatory Board. Now, this new board, the PRB, is a big deal because it replaces an older system. Its entire purpose is to build a rock-solid, super secure foundation for the country's absolutely massive volume of digital transactions. So, once the system is locked down and secure, what do you need next? You need people who can actually use it, and even better, innovate on top of it. And that brings us to step 2, upskill the people. The newly launched NIELIT Digital University is an online platform designed to do exactly that. The goal? Create a huge national talent pool by making advanced tech education accessible to everyone, especially in those remote and underserved parts of the country. And the third step in this digital strategy? Empower the youth. This is where the MY Bharat app comes in. Think of it as a direct channel to young people, anyone from 15 to 29 years old. It connects them with everything from skill development and job opportunities to social engagement. It's essentially bringing this entire support structure right to their phones, no matter where they happen to be. Okay, so you've got this digital architecture being built piece by piece, but what's going to fuel it? Well, that brings us to the next pillar, the economic engine. And let me tell you, recent numbers show that engine is absolutely firing on all cylinders. And a perfect example of this is the Goods and Services Tax, or GST, collections. Now, you can look at the month-to-month numbers, and they're pretty steady. But the really crucial thing to see here is the year-over-year growth. We're talking a 9.1% jump. That is a seriously powerful indicator of just how much economic activity is happening.
I mean, let's just pause on that number for a second. 1.89 lakh crore rupees in a single month. To put that in perspective for you, that's roughly 22 billion US dollars. It's just a massive figure. And what it signals is really strong consumption and overall economic health. And that's the fuel, right? That's what's going to power all these other big national projects. And having that kind of strong economic foundation, that's what allows for the next big pillar, investing in a long-term scientific edge. And what's cool here is that we saw this really smart dual approach, celebrating your own internal talent while at the same time building up external partnerships.
So on one hand, you've got the celebration of national talent. We saw the state's highest scientific honor, the Tanza Award, go to Dr. R. Arthur James for his incredible work. And then, on the other hand, you have this push for global collaboration, a multi-year biomedical research partnership with the super prestigious Wellcome Trust in the UK just got approved. It's a perfect strategy, right? One looks inward to celebrate excellence, and the other looks outward to build even more of it.
And that whole outward-looking spirit, that brings us perfectly to the final pillar we saw this week, rebuilding global bridges. And this is a really big one. We're talking about the resumption of direct flights between India and China for the first time in years. Now remember, these flights were stopped during the pandemic, and they stayed stopped because of border tensions that flared up back in 2020. So reopening this channel, it's not just about airplanes. It's a huge symbolic and practical step towards normalizing one of the most important relationships in the entire world.
So, when you step back and you put all of these pieces together, what do you actually see? These aren't just a bunch of random headlines about tech and taxes and science and flights. No way. They are the literal building blocks of a national strategy, with each one reinforcing the others.
So here's the key takeaway, right? In just 1 week, we've seen a clear 4-pillar blueprint emerge. You've got a digital foundation being laid with security, skills, and youth empowerment. You've got an economic engine being revved up by record tax collections. You've got scientific prowess being nurtured both at home and abroad. And finally, you have those crucial global bridges being rebuilt.
Every single one of these is a foundational block being carefully, deliberately put into place. And that really leaves us with one final fascinating question to chew on. If these are the building blocks we're seeing laid down in 2025, what is that final structure going to look like in the years to come?